Take your dealership to the next level with over 6,800 on-air interviews with dealer and industry leaders. CBT News, dealers' most trusted source for news, content, and analysis. Welcome to CBT News with Cheyenne Malone.
Good Monday morning to you. I'm Cheyenne Malone. Welcome to CBT News. Let's get you started with today's top stories.
Chevrolet is recalling certain 2020 through 2022 Bolt EV and EUV models due to issues with incorrectly installed diagnostic software, marking yet another chapter in the ongoing saga of Bolt recalls. GM Authority reports that dealers will need to reprogram the hybrid powertrain control module 2, battery energy control module, and body control module, with the service expected to take about an hour. This recall, affecting an unspecified number of vehicles, follows previous recalls starting in 2020 for battery-related fire risk, which led to a major expansion of the recall to 140,000 units in 2021 and the implementation of a second software fix in 2022. The latest recall is the third update for some owners and aims to correct software issues that were part of the initial 2020 recall. Tesla is expected to face a 3.7% decline in June quarter deliveries. This would mark the first time the company posts 2 consecutive quarters of decline. Analysts estimate that Tesla will deliver over 438,000 vehicles for the April to June period. This projection comes amid stiff competition in China and slow demand due to a lack of affordable new models. CEO Elon Musk's decision to shelve plans for a cheaper electric car and focus on robotaxis has raised investor concerns. The company is particularly struggling with growing inventory and waning consumer interest, especially in Europe. Mercedes-Benz Group is preparing to launch a significant number of new models over the next 2 to 3 years after its initial electric vehicle lineup underperformed. Despite its commitment to a carbon-neutral goal by 2039, Mercedes will continue investing in combustion engine vehicles to meet the preferences of high-end buyers, according to CEO Ola Canillas. The company, trailing behind competitors like BMW, experienced a 9% drop in EV sales in the first quarter. However, Mercedes plans to refresh its EV offerings starting with a facelifted EQS next year and introduce new models, including the entry-level CLA Coupe and GLB SUV. The automaker is also considering cost-saving measures and potentially selling its remaining stake in Daimler Truck Holdings. Swedish EV maker Polestar announced on Friday that its 2023 revenue fell and its losses expanded due to slowing demand for its higher-priced models. The company has faced delays in financial reporting and reduced investments from Volvo Cars, coupled with lower-than-expected demand for EVs. Polestar reported a 3% decline in revenue to $2.38 billion and a gross loss of $414.7 million compared to a $98.4 million profit the previous year. The company attributed its financial struggles to higher discounts, lower sales of carbon credits, and a significant impairment charge related to its Polestar 2 model. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Ryan Kerrigan, Managing Director of Kerrigan Advisors, to discuss the current state of the automotive buy-sell market.
Take your dealership to the next level with over 6,800 on-air interviews with dealer and industry leaders. CBT News, dealers' most trusted source for news, content, and analysis.
In the Blue Sky Report, you always highlight some important trends that you see being played out in the industry. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the big trends that we talk a lot about in the Blue Sky Report is kind of going back to a theme that we've talked about over the years, but we're seeing renewed interest, and that is outside capital.
Yeah.
A lot of folks use the term private equity, and just to be clear, Technically, most private equity firms are not allowed to invest in our industry. They can't get OEM approval. But there are other types of outside capital, professional capital, that can be carefully laced together with dealership groups. And so what we're seeing is that as these platforms are getting bigger and as there's more professional management, more comfort in perhaps bringing in professional capital, it's starting to happen. And so you're seeing some of the faster growing groups are linked up with outside capital that gives them incredible sort of liquidity. They're now not constrained by their balance sheet. And in the last couple of years, we've seen a 45% growth year over year in the number of stores owned by groups that are backed with outside capital. So right now, we estimate over 450 dealerships are owned by automotive groups, controlled by traditional dealer operators, but backed by outside capital. So it's a phenomenon relatively young in our industry, but starting to accelerate in a very meaningful way.
Well, that does it for us today. But remember, it is easy to stay up to date with the most recent news and trends influencing the retail automotive industry. All you have to do is follow us. We're on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm Cheyenne Malone. Thanks so much for watching.
CBT News, your #1 resource for auto industry news and content.